Okay guys, first of all, I'll give you guys like general tips which is good for almost everybody, and then talk about Grenadier, Merc, Witchhunter's problem, and then how to solve the issue and the build that solved that issue. First of all, we have a sale on Dash Tabs. It just started, ends in 3 days, which I recommend is to buy a currency tab. Currency tab is the most important one, this one, and then the next one is premium tab, which helps you to sell items. You can put it up so it goes to the PoE trade tab and you can sell stuffs pretty nicely, list items, or you could just put up random items and people will call you, people whisper you because they want the item. The gem tab looks pretty nice too, but currency and premium quad tab is good enough in my opinion. That's the first one. The second one is, maybe some of you guys saw it, Overwolf already dropped the overlay. If you control E on an item, then you can search item based on whatever you have on PoE2 trade. It's not perfect yet, but it shows you abruptly what kind of things you are having and that you can sell. So it's pretty nice. For example, this item, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, is also a pretty nice item. It should be like 10 XLs. You can include or exclude the items like that. So Radiant Grief is 10 XLs. Little bit more tip, these ones are fake. Usually the top ones, they put it up like that and then wait for some random noob to put up another 1XL item, another item like this on 1XL, and he grabs it for himself and sells it back at 10XL. So don't believe in those. That's one of the parts you need to be careful about trading items. Another tip is that, so I have an identified item right there, right? If I control left click, mouse left click, the item identifier such as hooded person, hooded man in the storyline NPC, or Doriani on Hideout, boom, he identifies the item for you right away, which is super nice. It's not a bad item, 106 maximum life, but anyways, it's not that good. Another thing is that if you want to disenchant the item, you can go to the player, you can go to the NPC and then press him and then go to the disenchant. Or Doriani was also like, you need to identify items, but control click was enough. This guy is also control click enough to sell disenchant items right away. So pretty cool tip. Quick another tip, well, I have a clip of that, but you can choose low skill level gem, such as I have is 16 one, and then go to the explosive grenade, for example, and then use a lesser jeweler orb to make it into 3 slotted ones, and then use Ball Orb to make it 4 slot. For example, this one became -1 level, but I'll show you guys the clip where I actually make it into 4 slots. It's not easy as I thought. I mean, obviously. Engrave that. Currency. Lesser Jewel Orb. Corrupted. Wow. It reduced the socket. Great. Am I just wasting my time? I kind of think I am. Engrave that. Reducing my time and money. Use that. 3 sockets. Bell Orb. Boom. Oh, 4 socket. So 5 link. Nice. Okay, I got a 5 socket. You know, this is very luck based, and also it can sometimes make you lose money instead of getting actual 4 slots. To make 4 slots, you need to use normally the Greater Jeweler Orb, which is crazily expensive if you check it out. Oh yeah, 19 XLs. It's not cheap. So you could try to do that if you have leftover Jeweler Orbs, Lesser Jeweler Orbs, and Ball Orb. Yeah, that's about it. And there's a item filter that is out from NeverSync, OG from Path of Exile 1. I'll put on some notification. I'll put on some descriptions. I'll put everything link on the description. The Overwolf and NeverSync filter and my skill tree and everything. Alright. So yeah, those were the tips. And general problems that I know. First of all, Leech is not happening. Even though GGG has posted that Leech is buffed, but Leech is not working. I don't think it's only the Mercs or any Life Leech or Mana Leech. All the leeches are just not working, as far as I know of. I checked with my viewers or the chat, and also like checked multiple places, but the leech is just bugged. So don't think about it. That's why I'm going with the regeneration a lot, mana regen and life regen. Anyways, that's the... And also Titan hulking form is a stat that will increase your small nose effectiveness by 50%, but sadly attribute nose doesn't apply because attribute nose or traveling nose or attribute nose, not a small nose. You gotta think about these kind of small nose, which has 50% more effectiveness. But I bet some people are getting confused by that. So yeah, you gotta be careful with that. The last boss of the X, you get minus resistance or minus armor, minus evasion. If you guys experienced it, if you did on your act, you will have minus resistances and then minus armor and minus evasion. If you guys experienced it, you will know. So in total, you will have minus 50% as far as I know. But the problem is, it's giving me more. So you can see minus 60%. And as far as I know, it should be minus 50%. And if you have some other stats like passive skill points, such as this one, fire resistance, or something else, you will have different resistance or somewhere else. But purely, you should have minus 50%. But I went to help out one of my mods and then killed Doriani on X3. And then I got additional minus 10%. And it's never getting fixed. Anyways, that's another thing that you guys should know as a tip. Maybe I should put that on the front. Now, let's move on to Grenadier's problem. Merc Witchhunter's problem. So first of all, Grenade doesn't go out even though you click the skill due to the delay. For example, right now, I think I could try like this. Yeah, I pressed all three buttons. Q, left click, right click. But he just ignores the... Which one is he ignoring? He's ignoring the medium one, the gas grenade. It's because of your attack speed is slow or because of the delay between the attacks. It should remember all the clicks and just do one by one and do it slowly. In Path of Exile 1, at least, I think it was like that. But in here, even though I click all three buttons, it doesn't give me all three of them, all three of grenades. So if I do it slowly, I can get that. But in an intense fight situation, you don't get that much time. So I press all the buttons, but doesn't blow up. So that was a big issue for me. So I changed my build to the one-click build, which I will show you guys a little bit later. Another thing is that the keyboard and mouse default ones are not working properly. If you toggle that mouse and keyboard, the problem is I press Q and Q in some grenades, but at some point the grenade doesn't shoot while I'm holding my left click around. And then if I release my mouse, it will throw the grenade. It's so weird. You throw a bunch of grenades, but at some point the grenade doesn't get thrown while you're moving around, and you need to release your mouse, and then he will stop and throw the grenade. I have some clips of it, but I don't think I can find it. I gave up on that build a long time ago. Anyways, that's another issue that we have. So what I chose to do eventually is that go with WASD and use one-click build. I've been checking out a bunch of videos, bunch of builds, which one would be the best. And eventually I found out this is the best. What I'm using right now is gas grenade only for clearing the map. Gas grenade, shoot, shoot, shoot. But the problem is you need to explode the clouds too, right? There's a couple things that you need to know. While the grenade drops, the grenade needs to be fused off before its fuse actually expires. Then the grenades are all together, right? It's more closer to together, so you can concentrate the damages on one target a lot, especially on bosses. So what you can do is that throw the grenade and ignite the enemy as quick as possible, and that can be done through using this helmet. Or there's another item you can use, which I will put screenshot at least while editing. Enemies in your presence are ignited as though dealt 100 base fire damage, or the boots will allow you to ignite enemies because they're gonna put burning grounds or just detonate the gas clouds or the fuse grenades. This one is pretty expensive, but the shoes are still kinda okayish price. It's like a couple of XLs. It does limit your movement speed to 15%, but if you want to use this build as quick as possible without using 10 XL, I think it's a pretty good alternative. I will show you guys some clips me fighting with this build, and another thing that I can give you guys is that using Bowtie Grenade. Bowtie Grenade, I thought it was just to use to stun enemies, just to electrocute enemies, but surprisingly it shocks the enemies pretty well too. So if you see what shock is, right here, shock targets to take 20% increased damage. 20% increased damage is pretty big as an ailment. And then electrocute itself is like a stun, make them not able to move at all. There's even a video of the final boss of this game being electrocuted until he has no life left. No life left by being 6 people being able to electrocute the enemy, the boss. It's quite crazy, but I'm not talking about that. Bowtie Grenade is already good for electrocute and the shock, but the damage is pretty decent too. Why I'm using this Bowtie Grenade is that you spam the smoke nades, and then sometimes you don't have enough gas grenade to use, especially if you're trying to drop a boss. So what you do is use all the gas grenades, and if you have cooldown is not enough, so the gas grenade is not there anymore, you could throw more Bowtie grenades to fight off more people, more enemies. But not only that, you could use Bowtie Grenade to electrocute them or shock them first, and then use the main damage. I'll show you guys some clips about that too. But before that, again, if you need more damage such as bossing, you can use the oil grenade. Oil grenade drops the resistance of the enemy, which is super nice, super more damage, and especially on high tier levels, it is really nice. I'm mapping like 13 to 15 right now, and their resistance is pretty high, especially the boss, so it's good to use all these, the gas oil grenades. But gas grenade is good enough to clear out the mobs still, even on 13 or 14 tier maps with this build. So let's talk about passive skill tree and the skill gems real quick. I'm still kinda trying out things, but you gotta grab the important grenade nodes again, like these ones. The ones I just hovered around, they are really important, you gotta go for it. Fuse duration, additional projectile, even though you lose more fuse, you increase more fuse duration, and a +1 cooldown use, and 50% chance to activate the second time. And I'm trying to grab every cooldown recovery rate node, such as this one and this one. So it's really nice to have all of them. I came all the way up here to grab skill effect duration because I was using explosive grenades before to detonate the gas grenade, but we don't need that anymore, so you don't have to come up here. Let's actually talk about that a little bit later. The best nodes that you could grab is like this one also. There's a 40% increased two-handed weapon, which is two-handed weapon for my crossbows. Area of effect or area damage itself is pretty nice. And this one is pretty important for the survival too. 50% chance to blind enemies. This helps a lot in my opinion. And I'm kind of focusing on armor because I don't really like the idea of evasion, but I'm gonna test a bit more. But anyways, those are the important nodes. This is the important node. So if you are gonna go for armor like me, which I have 37% for a reason, I'll talk about that again a little bit later. All the evasions are converted to armor. So what evasion does is that it will give you a chance to avoid strikes or projectiles, whatever the element or physical or chaos damage it is, you have a chance to evade that. It's a little bit different from Path of Exile 1. It depends on attacker's accuracy, but it's a chance. I don't really like using evasion. I want everything to be just fully mitigated, such as armor, which mitigates physical, fire, which mitigates fire, cold, lightning, chaos. So I try to cap these as much as possible and increase armor as much as possible. So you gotta actually like cap out everything, which I'm trying to do, and increase the armor as much as possible. But what I'm trying to do is right now, the damage is so much, I don't need to do any more. So I respect the Jealous and also the Cutting Strike or the Decimating Strike I had at the first, because I thought this was the reason why I chose this whole class. But there's not much bossing as much as I thought. And then the Gas Grenade, it does damage enough, or the area of effect enough. So I went for the Obsessive Rituals, which has Sorcery Ward and Ceremonial Ablution, which gives me, let's see, it gave me 1166 barrier. This is pretty powerful than I thought. There are a lot of elemental attacks in this game. I was kind of hesitating to use it because it will lower my physical mitigation, but what is good about is that a lot of enemies have elemental damages, especially the projectiles. And not only that, the lot of map modes, the waste of modes that gets added are added elemental damage more than added physical damage. So I actually survived a lot thanks to this Sorcery Ward. So I'm going to utilize it as much as possible. I'm going to increase the armor as much as possible, maybe up to 50%, and then it will be more higher, maybe 1500. The life is more required. It's the enemy still kind of hits you pretty hard, but I am surviving a lot more with the Sorcery Ward. I would recommend you guys to try it out. Anyways, after that, the mana is an issue. Mana is an issue, so I'm going for mana regen. But I don't really recommend you guys to go this far. If you're going for armor, I think you should go at least this far, because there's a lot of good armor gaining stats and strengths. Strengths is the really only way to increase the maximum life. There's like a couple of them here. I think it was like all the way here, yeah, 3% increased maximum life, but that's it. There's no more life that you can gain. That's why the energy shield becomes like really powerful. I've seen monks using meditate to get 7k energy shield, which is crazy amount. But for now, what I have Merc is maximum life and strengths and armor build that I could gain. Let's talk about the gems real quick. I have Gas Grenade. The main damage is the explosion, so you gotta focus on the fire damage. I used the Scarce Shot to increase the area of effect while utilizing 5 grenades at the same time. Exploding all of them in one spot does 5x damage, even though it will go down because of the 20% less attack speed or the 20% less damage. It kind of sucks, but still is super powerful support gem, so I recommend people to use it. And magnified effect, because it effectively damages one guy with 5 grenades at once, or just for clearing is better. And then primal armament for more elemental damage, 25%, and also because of the helmet I'm using, which ignites enemies all the time, it gives you more fire damage, 30%, which is super nice. And the oil grenade, which is secondly more important, is that I'm using Strip Away. The oil grenade itself gives slow and the elemental resistance, fire exposure, which is super nice, but because of the Strip Away, it gives you 26% in total. And then my aim for more slowdown. Sometimes like a running enemy who is stalking you crazily can be slowed down with this because of thanks to my aim plus, and also slow magnitude by using encumbrance. Boltaic Grenade, we're using Neural Overlord for more electrocute, and Payload to activate second time does double the damage. It's so Boltaic Grenade is used for only the bosses, or whenever you ran out of all the usage for Gas Grenade, you throw the Boltaic Grenade. So yeah, because of that, Voltaic Grenade is super nice. And fast forward for the whole fuse time. But because of the Stormfire, you don't have to worry about shock lasting less from this skill. So it's a pretty good combination of these 4 support gems. And Flash Grenade, I'm using Overpower, Ruthless, and this Combo Blade. And for the buff, I'm using Overwhelming Presence because it will shock, ignite, stun enemies a lot more. Using Clarity to gain more mana, because mana is still a problem. I need to still think about how to do it because there's no leech. Only mana regen is the best way to get it, and then life regen, which is always nice because there's always damage that gives you continuous damage, such as chaos damage, poison damage, or the burning ground or poison ground. They are annoying. And then Herald of Ash, I'm using that one. And Attrition, which shows you where the rare mobs are. This is actually pretty nice, the damage itself it gives. And I took off the Curling Strike too. It can be used, but you need to stay 33 seconds. It's pretty long time. Anyways, 1% hit damage. It's usually like 5%, up to 5% more damage to rare or unique. It's okay-ish, but the best of this skill is that it will show you which direction the rare enemy is. Because sometimes the rare enemies are so small and they're not glowing on yellow like Path of Exile 1. They are hard to see. But with this skill, it literally points you out where the rare enemy is. But you gotta be a little bit close to them. But it's super nice because of that. I might change to something else. I think it's pretty good to use this gem too. Oh, if you go to all gems, you can see Wind Dancer, which gives you 80% more evasion rating per stage. This is pretty big. And then Gale Force itself is pretty nice too. Knocks back enemies on hit and plus 5% critical hit chance. I mean, it's not like big deal, but the evasion rating itself is big. So you could gain total of 54% of evasion rating from that, which I think I might utilize it back again because the defense is really important on the later mapping. So this one is really nice too. And let's go to the gears. The gears, Bombard Crossbow. Gotta be Bombard Crossbow because it gives you additional projectile, which gives you X more damage, times more damage, one more, yeah. If you had 2 grenades, 2x. If you have 3 grenades, 3x. Focus on physical damage first, and then elemental damage with attacks, I don't think it gives you that much. So attack speed and physical damage as much as possible. Attack speed is also not super important after we are using gas grenade only. We're not swapping around explosive grenade or gas grenade, so attack speed is not super important. So focus on physical damage, it will scale up your damage because everything is converted from this physical damage to another. And the helmet, really important. It gives you additional fire resistance, pretty nice, and its evasion rating. This one here, definitely you gotta grab the physical damage to attacks on the gloves or fire damage to the attacks because you deal most of the damage as fire. And attack speed, really good to have those. After that, life and resistance. From belt, life and resistance, it's better to use the plate belt, which gives you armor. Plate belt is better for the base item. But anyways, I got this with pretty okay-ish life and resistance, so I'm using that one. 30% movement speed and much life as you can, and the resistance much as you can. And also rings, I'm focusing on physical damage of attacks and then resistance. Physical damage of attacks and resistance. Chaos resistance also is pretty important. I'm gonna try to max out my chaos resistance because I die to a lot of poison or chaos damages too. Body armor also, maximum life and resistance. Maybe some spirit because it helps you to gain more buff. And also the amulet resistance and maximum life. So yeah, those are the gears. Yeah, I think that's about it, guys. I'm gonna edit this real quick. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, do tell me on the comments. I will answer it as much as possible. If you want to check me out on live stream, check out Twitch and YouTube stream. I'm streaming Path of Exile 2 exclusively for a while until Tarkov does some big event or something happens on Tarkov. I'm enjoying it a lot. And this build made me so confident just throwing one grenade and dealing tons of damage. So I really recommend it. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, guys.